Okay, people. So thanks to Will Taylor at TPF, I had the opportunity to check out Sisters Interrupted. This is a documentary that has just aired at Raindance, right? It is from director Caroline Sharp. It is produced by Caroline Sharp, Chelsea Leland, and Sophie Daniel. It's executive produced by Lawrence Ellman, Nick Frazier, Nick Gutterund, Oliver Lewis, Kat Villers, and Peter Weber. It is edited by Alistair Graham. Contributing editors are Carol Brown, David Carap, Bobby Good, Johannes Hubbridge, and Gigi Welsh. So line producers Christina Selianova. Cinematography, we have Simon Plunkett, Caroline Sharp, Guy Mooson, and Tom Wade. Yeah, that's probably most of it. Yeah, there's not a lot of information on the back end, unfortunately. But people, this is a fascinating documentary, right? Essentially, this is the story of two sisters, one condition, and hundreds of years of stigma. With close and intimate access, we reveal the hidden world of epilepsy, a life-threatening seizure condition that affects 50 million people worldwide. Right? We are following British sisters Chelsea and Tamsin Leyland as they both battle forms of epilepsy and together fight for access to treatment that could save both their lives. It was filmed over 3 years, right? This is the defining story of love of two sisters fiercely battling against the odds. So the big thing is, right, Chelsea lives in New York and is being treated with medical cannabis against her original neurologist's recommendations, resulting in her being seizure-free for 3 years. Unconstrained by the devastating side effects of the traditional medication, Chelsea lives a rich and active life, traveling the world as a professional DJ. However, across the Atlantic in the UK, her sister Tamsin has lived a lifetime with a much more severe version of epilepsy and lives in full-time care, often suffering 100 seizures a day. She is resistant to every medication she has tried, and the sisters share the same genetic marker. So Chelsea is desperate for Tamsin to gain access to some, proper treatment. Right. So that is, yeah, the gist of this story. It is, I mean, these things are just heartbreaking, right? It's just heartbreaking to see because it was, I believe, her 11th or 13th birthday where Tamsin, has to go into care. And like, I mean, that's just horrendous, right? A little kid because you're having so many seizures, and these seizures can be brought on by bright lights, excitement, right? Excitement, because you just think that, I think most people probably understand the bright light thing, right? We see the warnings for bright flashing lights before films and in certain places, right? So I think that is understood, but excitement, I didn't know excitement was one. Right, so just celebrating someone's birthday, Christmas, you know what I mean? Just a simple event could then trigger a seizure, right? Just that. Imagine that. That's horrendous, right? That having to live with that burden is crazy. And they talk about in this the treatment, right? The medication, which I mean, it just leaves you feeling like shit. And I've had to take a number of different types of medication over the years. And yeah, there's certain things you get given. And firstly, it's running the gauntlet, right? Having to try so many different medications, but some you are just completely allergic to, you know? Others, it's just you get these horrendous side effects. And the ones where it's not a horrendous side effect will still leave you feeling disconnected, right? Just like out of it, like you're in a fog, a zombie, and so, you know, that's what's happened. Like that's what Tasmin feels like all the time. Chelsea, she started to get her epilepsy while doing her GCSEs. And it was, she said she tried these different medications and they would just have her feeling out of it, right? You feel like you're a step behind everything. You're just moving in slow motion. So it's then trying to deal with this. Now she moved to New York because she was 19, and being in the States, you have access to medical marijuana. So she started, she tried it along with her medication, and then eventually weaned off the medication and is just using the medical marijuana, which, as you heard, she's been seizure free now for 3 years, which is amazing. Amazing. And it's not the first time I've heard that, right? It's medical marijuana has helped people with PTSD, epilepsy, Parkinson's disease, Alzheimer's, so many different things, chronic pain syndromes. And it's not really available in the UK, which is a weird one because it is available, but it's not available. It's not available because the NHS will not give it to people, right? And doctors won't prescribe it, but it is there, right? So if you could get hold of it, you're not getting arrested for using it, right? Which is just the insane thing about all of this, right? Just the insane thing. Now, we look at all of this in this documentary. I think, yeah, it's a great job of just glimpsing, right? Glimpsing the just the issues, right? The life in which Tamsin is struggling through, just all the different hurdles that she has to face, right? Everything that Chelsea is trying to do to help her. Like Caroline has done an incredible job of bringing this story together because we've got, it looks like there's like phone footage, we've got these interviews and candid pieces, we got these pieces following around Chelsea, all brought together to give you this, intimate look at these two sisters' lives. You know, just footage where Tamsin is having seizures, right? Where she's recovering from a seizure, you know what I mean? Just dribbling, and we see it all, which is important, right? It's an important thing because I think you need to understand what this is, right? The magnitude of the situation. So we get to see all of that. We get to see Tamsin joking around, you know, making a joke, smiling, you know, those moments of clarity, you know, and like you see the personality there. You know what I mean? Like, I think Chelsea asked her, what's the funniest thing you've seen lately? And she, right, and her best friend's in the room, and she's like, his willy and naked body, and it's just like, oh shit, right? I mean, the dude standing there, and she's like, yeah, his dick and his body is hilarious. It's just. It's brutal, man. It's brutal. She should be on Kill Tony, you know? But yeah, there's just it's rough. Like there are some things which it would have been interesting to know. Like, has there been an attempt to maybe move Tamsin to America? You know, to give her access to medical marijuana or bring her out for an extended trip, right? You might not be able to move her, but if you say it's a holiday, and then while she's there, experiment, right? Just give her the cannabis and see. Well, when I say give it a cannabis, right? Because this is the thing. Cannabis, you think, oh, that's going to get you high. No, because you can just take out the TCP, TPC. I believe it's TPC. It's T something, right? But it's just a CBD, right? You take out the psychoactive component and then you just have the medical benefits, right? So you're not getting high, but it is helping you. You know, so I'd be interested if that has been looked at, you know, right? A lot of this because we can see, you know, some of the work that Chelsea's been doing. Like she went on hot boxing, even with Mike Tyson. We see her at the UN giving a talk, and outside the Houses of Parliament, there was a demonstration and all of this. And there is that aspect of it. But I think one of the big things with this, you know, one of the big reasons is the misinformation, right? And people throw around that word a lot. But in this case, there was clear misinformation given, right? From this was the cigarette companies. You know, well, it was the cigarette companies and it was the paper companies, right? Because, you know, when the printing press was created, it takes more energy to, you know, use wood for paper than it did hemp because people used to use hemp, right? It's a better material, but so there was all this propaganda around hemp, right? With, you know, the plant, the cannabis plant. And then the cigarette companies and pharma, they want to ban it because, right, of, you know, just look, you could essentially just grow it yourselves. So there's that. It's, you know, cheaper than all of these medications, right? It's not as addictive as anything like opioids, right? And all the other medications, right? And when you think about the cost of those things, There's so many medications, which the cost is insane, right? And you have to take multiple tablets and all things like that. Where cannabis, you wouldn't, right? So it's a huge seen by those companies as a huge, you know, predator, right? It's something they feel could wreck their businesses. So there's all of this money paid, right? Because they pay the government, they lobby the government to, you know what I mean, not pass certain laws, to keep certain legislations there. And that's the big one, you know what I mean? Because obvious. It's so obvious, right? We've seen it with alcohol, you know, we've seen it with cigarettes. They banned cigarette advertising from sports and TV. And then suddenly the government turned around and was like, yeah, but we'll let Formula One do it. Because Formula One gave them a load of money. You know what I mean? So that is the real issue here. It's the lobbying from outside agencies that is blocking cannabis as well. So I think that needs to be addressed, you know, on top of everything else. Now, Chelsea has, you know, she's set up some different, you know, charities to try and, you know, campaign, right? So there's facing epilepsy. I think there's another one. The links will be on the website, so you can, you know, go check them out, you know, throw your support. But this is definitely something worth looking at for sure. Like it's a really heartbreaking story, but it's a story that could impact so many different people. So many different people. So this was very important to make, and it was made really well, that engages you and informs you, right? It's just been picked up by Fremantle, so it should be out in the world hopefully sooner rather than later. You know, if I have that information, I'll throw it on the website. You know what I mean? But yeah, just use the links. You can follow the films page, Chelsea's page, Caroline, all of them people's, Sophie, and you know, you'll be able to see what's going on. But definitely people, this is one to watch. Sisters Interrupted.